here today, but he is currently in the middle of getting ready for PAX East, and he is actually packing as we speak, so he had to sit out this weekend. So we brought in fan favorite John Quach.
Mm-hmm. I had such a busy schedule. I had so many things lined up. I had an appointment. I had to meet. So many people out that I had to meet. I had a meeting with Paris Hilton, whatever. But then I had to cancel and come here. So yeah, now I'm here.
That's true dedication, Q.
I know you were looking forward to that lunch too.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yes, I know. She was going to launch the John Quach fashion line and everything.
I know, we've been working on that for so long. 3 months, right? 3 months prototyping and all that kind of stuff. Had to get the shirt size just right, but whatever. Next week. Next week.
Oh, John Quach. Well, on this week's episode, we're going to do something a little bit different. There hasn't been any big news. We're kind of in a holding pattern right now. And so we're going to do something that we're going to do from time to time on the show, and that's where we're going to take just one topic, we're going to focus on it and see what everyone thinks about it. And this week we're going to talk about gadget overload. Are there just too many gadgets in our lives, or do we all dream of that one gadget to rule them all, like the One Ring, that we would finally... You know what? I'll tell the story why this came up with me. I just got my second HDMI splitter for my television.
Wow, you got
I don't even have one.
I don't have one either.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. Being the streaming guy, every week, my collar. Being the streaming guy, I have a Roku, I have an Apple TV, I now have a Fire TV, I have a Chromecast.
Mm-hmm.
Then I also enjoy gaming.
Mm-hmm.
And I have an Xbox One, a PlayStation 4, an Xbox 360, a Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
That's way more HDMIs than a television has.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now, especially in the realm of gaming, I can understand why there's different systems. But in the world of streaming, each one of these devices does something different for me. And when I sent out the show notes on this, the example I used was, I still have a dedicated GPS in my car. Yes,
Right.
my phone does do GPS, but it's not quite as good as a dedicated GPS. And so I'm wondering...
Sorry, Sean. You know what's interesting? We have a dedicated GPS as well. It's like a Garmin whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually not as good as, say, my iPhone.
Now, how old is it?
No idea. Not that old. Maybe 1-2 years or something.
Yeah, I will agree. For some reason, dedicated GPSs do take longer to lock onto the satellites. I don't know why.
And by that time, I'm already driving.
Yeah, and I always find the iPhone or Android or whatever works perfectly well for me.
Yeah.
Well, they tend to work well, but there's something about a dedicated GPS that I feel more comfortable with it. I don't know. I actually, when I travel out to Irvine, which if anyone notices, Todd has a different background this week. It's because he's actually out in the Irvine office.
Yeah, and I have a son.
Yes. And when I travel out to Irvine, I take my GPS with me. And Todd, you know where you pick up the cars now at the Irvine Airport. You're down in the pit.
Yeah.
Right. I have to wait until I get out of the pit before the GPS even tries to find satellites.
Oh, yeah, you can't get anything down there.
Yeah, you can't get XM radio down there. You can't get anything down there. But yeah, so I mean that's just one example though. And I know Joey's made fun of me in the past for this. I still carry.
Joey's making fun of you right now.
Yeah. Hi, Joey.
Oh, thanks, Joey. Yeah. Thought you were packing. Go do something constructive. Anyway, so I still carry an iPod Classic, and that's because I don't want to risk my iPhone when I'm working out.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, do you guys have any examples of where you have multiple devices that do the same thing? I mean, Todd, I'm sure you do.
Yeah, I have that problem. Well, I have 2 phone lines, as people who listen to the show know, and so I have 2 different phones at all times, and then usually my iPad mini, sometimes I switch to my Nexus 7, and then computers, I have Windows 8, and I have OS X. So the problem that I have is choosing an ecosystem, right? Like, I could go iOS across all devices, iPhone, Mac with iMessage and stuff, and then into the iPad. But then I also like it, then I'm like, oh, but I love Windows Phone, or I love Android, but then I buy apps in one and I can't use it on the other, and you're like, I don't know which ecosystem I want to get into. It's kind of a pain. Like, I have music and books mostly in Android, on the Android ecosystem, and then and apps, and then on iOS I have just movie rentals and stuff. So it's I don't know.
Well, yeah, and
on my iPad I don't have my books because I bought them on Android.
Right.
Movies are a perfect example because, like, when I buy a Blu-ray, sometimes they'll come with a digital copy that you can download from iTunes, or they come with an ultraviolet copy. So now I have these 2 movie libraries that are diverging because I have the ones that I can watch through Vudu, or I have the ones I can watch through iTunes. And on the Apple TV, there is no ultraviolet app.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like they're...
Just letting you guys know, Sean was pretty shocked to find this out, and I was pretty shocked to find this out. This was around the launch of the Fire TV, and apparently, you guys in the U.S. have been Amazon Prime. You can watch TV shows and stuff like that. I didn't even know that existed.
Amazon Instant?
Yeah, Todd, you don't know. Amazon Canada, we don't have TV shows and whatnot. You can buy the DVDs and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like Amazon, how Amazon for you guys was 8 years ago.
For the listeners that don't know, John lives up in Canada, so he deals with Amazon Canada, and it constantly amazes me how different things are on Amazon Canada from Amazon US. It's like Amazon from like 10 years ago.
I don't know if they've changed it, but what's that radio service you guys have? Spotify, I think.
Spotify, Pandora.
Those things aren't available here. I think I haven't checked, but from last time I tried to use it, it says it's not available in your country. I don't think Hulu Plus is either. I don't know. That's why I think that's another reason why there's so many of these services, because depending on your location and what's available to you, if you can't use those main ones, you have to use something else, right? Mm-hmm. So that kind of adds more to the divergence of things. It's a fun word to say. Did you guys watch the movie?
No, but like Todd was saying, that the problem is that now for the average person, for the Joe Schmo consumer, this probably isn't going to be a problem, because they, if they buy an Android phone, they're more likely to buy an Android tablet. If they buy an iPhone, they're more likely to buy an iPad, and they're not going to have the divergent ecosystems. And for the listeners, we do realize that we're in a unique place because we do have access to all the different devices. But at the end of the day, still, I mean, okay, so like the Fire TV, which I just finished doing the written review, and that will be going up in a day or two. The Fire TV is a great device, but it is so primarily focused on Amazon Prime Instant Video, while the Roku is great at being a jack of all trades, but it's a master of none. And so I can see a definite reason to have those two devices. And then the Apple TV, if you own anything through iOS, or, through the iTunes Store, you're going to want an Apple TV. And I know Apple, with their lockdown ecosystem, is never going to open it up. I'm never going to be able to watch my iTunes collections on a Roku. That's not going to happen.
Right.
But, Todd, you were saying prior to the show, ecosystems you think are a lot of the problem.
Yeah, and I think that it's also the strategy for each business. I mean, we've going through the lawsuits this week between Apple and Samsung. Some of the documents, of course, inside Apple from a couple years ago were saying, like, beat Google in music, beat Google in the cloud, and beat, to keep everybody in the ecosystem so that nobody wants to go use another version. So I think that's kind of like, it's not a problem, it's a strategy, but
that creates a problem, though.
It does, because you're like, oh, I like the iPhone, but I don't like the iPad, but I sort of should buy the iPad because it just kind of works with everything I've already bought,
I don't know. There's a lot of things that come into here. It's like, one is business strategy, and then two, because of how they execute the strategy, they change the minds in how consumers consume things, whether it's hardware or whether it's software. And I don't know, that just splits everything like everything we're talking about, and that's like as a result of what these companies choose to do or choose not to do. Because that's the only way we can, read our books, listen to our music, watch our movies, and all that kind of stuff. Simple things that we want to do, right?
Right.
For example, when Windows Phone, and I'm pretty sure Windows Phone people are still suffering from this now, the lack of applications that aren't supplied by the actual people. I think Instagram, they have an app now, but I remember when I first got my Windows Phone, there wasn't an official YouTube app, there was no Twitter and all this kind of stuff, so you had to use something else.
Right. And
that's just like a small scale. And now you step back and look at the big scale thing, where you're looking at iOS versus Android versus thing, where if you buy an iPhone, or you had an iPod from a long time ago, you build this collection of iTunes music, and now you want to use Android. Well, you can't. Technically, you can, because I think you can route it, and no, not route it. Sorry, what's that word? Root.
Root and all that.
You can jailbreak it, whatever, and then you can load your thing on it, but then it won't actually be as smooth. And I don't know. There's a lot of this kind of stuff going on. It's
sort of a headache.
It is. And you have to keep up with this stuff in order to make sure, especially if you've jailbroken or you root, you have to keep up with this stuff to make sure that when the next update rolls around, that it doesn't break everything that you've already done.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, we're getting some questions and comments related to this.
Oh,
subject.
yes, okay.
From TechnoGeek. I too have many devices, so many that when Best Buy came to put up my TV, they had me buy a splitter-like device. But I use all of them, so it's not as if I'm not using my devices. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. Everything I named off that's connected to my television, I use on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, admittedly, I don't have to play video games. Well, yeah, I do. It's just the way I am. But but nobody forces me to buy those.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still of the mind that there's a definite disconnect between the television manufacturers and the world, because they're still saying, our own Jacob Kleinman talked to Samsung Television Division not long ago, and they said, oh no, the average user only uses 3 HDMI slots. That's why we haven't increased to past 4. I'm sorry, but
it's like how Apple, for their, I don't know about other laptop manufacturers, but Apple, they only give like 2 USB ports on their MacBooks. That's ridiculous, man. Jeez.
Or like on my MacBook Pro, they put all 3 USB ports right next to each other, which means I really only can use 2 at any time.
Yeah, or you have to buy some sort of L-shaped converter thingy, and that kind of, that's a hub now.
Exactly.
It's silly. That's so stupid. I hate it.
So many of us now, especially those of us that are tech geeks, we're going to have more and more devices piling up under our televisions or in our cars. And I want a device that is a jack of all trades. Mm-hmm. And the old saying is jack of all trades, master of none. But no, I want a device that is jack of all trades, a master of all.
Yeah. I think a lot of people... See, the thing is, that can only happen if all the companies get together and become one company and just make one product. And let's say there's no evil means to it or whatever, and everything's fine and dandy. I think that's the only way it'll happen. But when we get the one device, I feel like how we are in terms of consumers, they're gonna start launching the one device, but in 7 different colors. So now, when you buy the one device, it's like, oh well, I want a red one too. So now you're gonna buy a red one, a green one, and a black one. So depending on how you feel that day, you're gonna, I want this red phone to match this red shirt I'm wearing. So now, even though you have one device, you're gonna have multiple versions of that device.
Well, Todd, you and I have discussed this every time that Samsung comes out, like 3 months after our phones come out, they're like, now we're releasing the burgundy.
Yeah. The Hello Kitty version.
Yeah, why not release all the colors at the same time?
I think because they want to kickstart their sales again through new model, give a retailer.
Probably, I don't know. I can't answer that one. I don't know.
Yeah. So it's funny though, Q. You're saying different colors, and then you'd run into the same problem. You're like, oh, but my music's on the red phone, and my
I know.
Well, I think the solution to this is Google and Apple become one company, and we call it Gopple.
Gobble. There you go.
And iOS, Android merge, and then we would have no problems in the
But Sean,
market.
What about Windows thingy phone?
Anyway, Google and Apple.
Windows thingy.
Well, and then we can't forget about BlackBerry.
What about BlackBerry?
Hugh, you're Canadian. The fact that you don't carry a BlackBerry phone is like the most unpatriotic thing ever.
But why?
Well, I believe the Canadian government actually owns a portion of BlackBerry.
Oh, do they?
Waterloo.
I don't know. I got no idea.
Well, I think a lot of this does come down to the fact that these companies are never going to work together. It's unlike. Okay, so say you use the instance of when HD DVD versus Blu-ray. A format was going to win out, and then everybody agreed, okay, fine, we're going to do Blu-ray.
Right.
Unfortunately, as we go cloud-based, that's not going to be the norm. Because different companies are going to use different DRMs, they're going to use different formats. And they can do that because you're not having to buy a physical player. Oh, just download this piece of software.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like that with everything, though. For example, how you code an iOS app isn't the same as how you code an Android app. And, same thing with Windows. So, in terms of app availability, it's like if you're an app house or an app developer, and you have a team of guys who can easily code an iPhone app, and you can monetize that right away. But do you necessarily want to spend the $20,000 to hire someone else to build the Android version of it where you think might not make as much money? And that's when, then you get, things that are available on Apple, on iOS, but not available on Android. Or they'll make an Android version of it, but it's not as good. Like how Google, for whatever reason, the iOS apps of Google applications are better than the Android ones. That makes no sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Well, here's another question from Sachin Bahal, our regular listener.
Yeah, man. Number one fan.
Do you think Android TV is a real thing? Sadly, I do. And that's going to be yet another ecosystem.
Okay, for those who don't know what Android TV is, like myself, what is it?
Todd, do you want to explain it? I believe you.
Well, I don't know. I think there's a couple of definitions, right? Like Android TV, or I'm sorry, I'm so.
Well, no. Remember those screenshots came out a couple.
Yeah. I think it is a real thing, and it seemed like, is it just me, or did it kind of look like the Xbox interface, like with the different rectangles and selections you can make across? But I guess the cool thing about that is it doesn't seem like an entire new ecosystem. It's just another way to. I got John dancing, John and Lloyd.
Well, what's
but
funny,
it's the same ecosystem. So if you buy it on your phone, your tablet, and it's Android, then it's on your TV, I hope. And it's sort of just like Chromecast, but probably a little beefier because it can have its own software running on it.
Well, Todd, for those of you watching on video, if they look closely behind your head, there's a little black ball.
Oh yeah, that thing.
Right there.
Yet another failed Google attempt at getting on the television. Yes, folks, it's the infamous Nexus Q. We keep it around the office as like a trophy of things that didn't work.
It's so heavy.
That thing was the most ridiculously heavy device ever.
Well, the thing is, I don't know. There's been a handful of Google projects that didn't work. Like, was it Buzz? I think that was it, right? Buzz. Wave. But then they wanted, before Google Plus, there was Google Buzz, right?
There was something.
I don't know.
Yahoo was Yahoo Buzz.
I don't know. Something. I forgot what the icon looked like. But I applaud them for trying. And usually, from what I've seen, what happens with Google, even like if something fails, they'll use that kind of thing to make a super awesome, better version of it. Like the Chromecast, right? The Q was kind of like the stepping stone to, whoops, I bumped my mic, to the Chromecast, technically, right?
Yeah, probably.
Kind of, yeah.
And Buzz or Wave, that kind of collaborative technology became integrated with Google Docs and all their other stuff, which now is Google Drive. So, it's good that they're trying new stuff. I applaud them for being brave and doing that.
To Nathan Gullerson, who says Gopple, patent pending, that would actually be a trademark. So make sure that you file the proper paperwork.
You can actually shorten it to Go Apple.
Now I just want to go make a Gopple shirt and wear that on every episode.
Right.
Oh, Gopple. But, and the thing is, I made the argument that, now that we're moving into the cloud-based systems, and that should eliminate some of this problem. The other problem is, okay, now one of those cloud services that you've put all your money into, this ecosystem, and it fails.
Yeah.
And let's say that Ultraviolet all of a sudden fails, and I've got some of my movies locked over there.
Right.
And then I don't have a physical good, and see, that's one of the reasons I still go out and buy physical discs. I want to hurt myself every time I do. I'm like, why are you doing this? It's just going. It's another thing in your house. And I still do it. And it's because I worry about, okay, fine, yes, I could go on and buy this digitally. How do I know that it's going to be there in 5 years?
Right.
See, for me, the thing I worry about most is pictures. And, I try to back them up, and then I have, thousands of pictures on my Google Drive, right? But I also have some on my OneDrive account, it's called now. And I don't know, sometimes I'm like, should I just print them all so I have, hard copies? It's the same kind of worry that you have.
Well, and that's actually somewhat off subject. I wrote an article about this ages ago when I was at another site. I had been cleaning, and I found some pictures I had totally forgotten about in the bottom of a box.
Right.
And
scandalous.
I'm like 6 in the pictures. It's me in a fireman's helmet standing in front of a fire truck when I was visiting my grandfather at his fire station. Anyway, so I got to thinking, though, yes, digital photos have been great, but there's going to be a day where kids don't have that excitement anymore of stumbling across a picture in the bottom of a box.
I know.
because of situations like you're mentioning, Todd, they're all going to be up in the cloud.
I guess you could stumble across like, the gallery.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's going to be a very different situation. But yeah, I see, like you, I worry about my pictures disappearing as well, and so a lot of my pictures are backed up on SkyDrive, or not. I'm sorry, not SkyDrive, SugarSync.
Okay.
But it's still in the cloud, though, right?
Well, the reason I like SugarSync, and I'm not a paid spokesman for SugarSync. The reason I like SugarSync is that you can set it up on multiple computers, and it will sync those folders across all those computers that you tell it to, plus keep a copy up in the cloud.
Right.
So, like, my pictures are on my desktop at work and my laptop at home, and there's a copy up in the cloud, and it keeps all those folders synchronized across all the devices.
Right.
And I can also access them from my phone or tablet.
Right. This is about a good time. All right, we're going to take a break and thank our friends at SugarSync.
He revealed it!
Folks. Just kidding, folks. This episode is actually sponsored by Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. They're great. But, you know, like even with the cloud backup stuff, the good practice thing is to back it up to your external hard drive, right?
Yeah.
But see,
I know it's a pain.
failing.
I know,
and
that's
I
why
like
you got to have another external hard drive to back up your external hard drive.
I know!
That's the
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a gamble anywhere you put it. You trust the cloud, or you trust Western Digital, or whoever it is that makes your hard drive. I don't know.
You and I run into too many gadgets in the form of, let's see, you and I on a daily basis use Dropbox. We use Google Drive,
Mm-hmm.
and I have SugarSync as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I start getting confused about, okay, wait, did we put that on Dropbox or did we put that on? And the reason we have those is each one offers one little thing that's different than the other that's enticing enough to get us to sign up for it.
Yeah. I don't know.
So it's even happening in the cloud situation.
Of course it is. I don't think there's any way around it.
No, it's frustrating, because I don't like having this many gadgets in my life. I don't like the fact that I'm setting up a second HDMI splitter to my television.
Right.
I'm like, I officially have a problem.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's going to be like on How I Met Your Mother. Someday I'm going to walk into my house and there's going to be an intervention banner up on the wall for Sean and all of his HDMI cables. Well, let's take some...
Answer some questions, shall we?
Yes, we're going to answer some questions. The audience has been listening to mainly me complain.
Mm-hmm.
From Future Game Dev, will the war for the TV ever end? No. I think the war's just starting.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I agree.
And here's the thing. I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just making this up. There's obviously a competitiveness for TV in the consumer level, but what about in like the business level, where we're starting to see TVs replacing restaurant menus, and in theaters where they're replacing the trailers and panels, where you see panels all over stores and all that kind of stuff. Is there a competition there? I would think so. Who can offer the biggest screen for cheapest kind of thing? Something like that.
That's definitely going on.
Yeah.
I think with the Xbox One especially, and just this week, Microsoft announcing what was it, Todd? 6 original shows.
Yeah, 6 that are already pretty much on their way, I guess, and 12 more are coming.
That I probably can't watch.
Probably. But there's another great example. Xbox One's going to have original content. Amazon has original content now. Netflix has original content. Hulu has original content.
Mm-hmm.
Are you supposed to subscribe to all of them to get this content? And admittedly, again, it's a situation of you don't have to watch it. But yeah, I still do.
Cable networks.
Yeah, it's almost worse than cable though, because when you subscribe to cable, you're going to get all the different channels.
Right.
And here you're actually standalone a la carte systems.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a premium for everyone.
So the war for the television is just beginning. I think it has a long way to go, and it's not going to be pretty.
Hang on, interjecting. This is a super side note. Speaking of the fancy displays in stores, so do you guys have Sport Check? I don't think you do. It's like a sporting goods kind of store. Anywho,
no.
So recently I went to the fanciest Sport Check I've ever seen. When you go in, there's a greeter there. I don't know if he's in a suit or not, but he's definitely dressed up fancy. There's valet parking, and there's tablets and displays everywhere, and you can kind of check out the products and the specifications, all that kind of stuff. This might be standard for you guys. I don't know, but this is like whoa for me, right? And the coolest thing was, you know, when you ask somebody to pick up try on some shoes and you need like a size 10 or something, they'll go in the back and then they'll grab it and they'll come back. But this one, through technology and magic, they like put it through their walkie-talkie thing. Oh yeah, I need a size 7. And on the side of the store, you know, in restaurants where there's that conveyor where they bring food up. Yeah, there's one of that. And so they brought the shoe up, and all he had to do was go inside, lift up the thing, and grab the shoe, and oh yeah, here you go. That's amazing.
That is awesome.
There's a chain of stores in the UK called Argos that I had to go into one just. I saw the television commercials, and I was like, I don't understand this. I go in, and what it is that they're retail stores, and they have these kiosks with catalogs on them, paper catalogs, big, thick paper catalogs. And you flip through them, and you find the items you want. And then you go to the order desk and hand it to them, and they bring it from the back. So the items aren't on display. They're just in the catalogs.
I remember going to something like that when I was a kid. I didn't know those still existed.
Do you know how much easier this would be with tablets?
Yeah, seriously. You ever go to B&H in New York City, the camera stores?
Years ago.
And they have like all these rollers and things going above you, and like you ask for a product, and then someone orders it. Shoots down the rollers all around the store, and then it's at the front desk when you get up there. Weird.
Okay.
Kind of the same idea.
I haven't been there since like '96 or so.
Yeah, I mean it's the old way of doing it. I think was kind of cool to see.
Here's a question that will make John Q smile. It's
Okay.
from Paul Choi, and he says, "Waffle Tier here."
Hi there, Paul Choi.
When is the next MacBook Pro Retina refresh?
I have no idea.
I'm going to say, Todd, what do you think? Probably around WWDC?
Geez, I don't know. We haven't been seeing enough on that. That's coming up pretty quick. We'll see. When's a year from the last one?
I am looking that up right now.
While they do that,
I don't have an answer.
For me, I mean, I know every year Apple does something. I personally don't follow any of that kind of stuff because I don't have any intention to upgrading or buying anything. I'm still using the iPhone 4S. I'll probably still use it until the thing. I'll use something until I cannot use it anymore. My MacBook Pro is 3 years old. It's approaching 4 soon. And I'll keep using it until the battery explodes or something. Then I go, okay, maybe it's time I'll get a new one.
The last Retina MacBook Pro refresh was on October 22nd.
Of 2013, yeah. So we have some time, I think.
Yeah. I'm using the Mac Rumors guide. It says the average is 249 days. It's been 169 days since, so that would fall right about WWDC for the average.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe WWDC, but I'd say probably sometime this summer. Let's see here. We're doing general questions, folks. So whatever you feel like asking. Another question from Sachin Bahal. Will we see more behind the scenes at TechnoBuffalo episodes, just like those Tech on the Range episodes? Yeah, at some point. This is only the 5th episode, so give us some time. Those are also known as the weeks. Absolutely no news happened.
Right.
We'll have a little something on the YouTube channel, I think, this week because I helped John film about what it's like writing here.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm not pretending. I genuinely didn't know that. it's like we got before the episode. I'm going to mention this, and then you're going to have to pretend to be surprised. I'm like, oh, okay.
So, Todd, did you cry actual tears during that?
Yeah.
It's horrible. It's awful. I can't believe the thing.
All right, cut, Todd. We're going to have to get you to say that again, but with less crying and more smiling.
Okay, this question comes from Gabe Lasky. What is the best video editing laptop out there these days? John Quatch, that'd be a good question for you.
I got no idea. I can only say it from personal experience. I can, depending on the amount of videos, what kind of camera that was used to capture it, how big they are, and all that kind of stuff. At CES this year, I was able to edit relatively okay with my 2010 MacBook Pro using Adobe Premiere Pro CS6. So take that for what it's worth. I don't know.
Mostly we use MacBook Pros when we're mobile for video editing, and when we're in the office, it's iMacs.
Yeah. When I was in Irvine, I was editing on a Windows 8 machine, and it was, I don't know, it was some Sean, you know, the super powered one that happens to be Yeah, that
Toshiba
happens to
tablet
be
that's the size
on
of
a marble slab at the bottom. There's a marble slab attached to this thing.
Oh no!
Wait, are you talking about the Falcon Northwest?
Yeah, the Falcon
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I thought, that's a pretty neat stand. And I tried to take it off the marble slab. No, that thing's attached to the computer. Anywho, that's supposed to be some sort of super mega awesome computer. I used it. It was fast, and I was able to edit with a Premiere Pro CC, Creative Cloud. I don't know. But Windows, I don't know, man. Maybe it's just because I've been away from the Windows ecosystem for a while. I cannot use Windows 8. I don't like that. You're in your the main desktop thing, but then when you try to open, say, Internet Explorer, it kicks you out, and then Internet Explorer is like one full app that comes on. I hate that. Mac OS has that too, but they do that with full screen, right? Where you whatever it is, it goes full screen. I hate it when that happens. I googled like how to disable full screen on Mac OS because I accidentally do that all the time.
Yeah, no, it is annoying.
It's so annoying.
Times.
Jeez.
Todd, question for you from Technoclastic. Do you think that smartphones should have more storage like 128 gigabytes, not just 16, 32, and 64?
I want to say yes, but
It's going to cost like $2,000.
but when I talk to manufacturers a lot, seem to think that 32 and 64 is a sweet spot, especially with cloud storage these days. But nice thing is you have HTC's adding the micro SD card back, which is great. And then with the modern smartphones, you're getting up to 128 gigabyte additional storage. So 32, 64. For me, 64 is where I want to be. I think that's about enough. But if it doesn't have a micro SD card, but if it does, I'd go down as low as 16, save on the upfront costs, and just add it.
Yeah, I mean, the 128 gigabyte cards have already been marked down by Amazon. They're not horrifically expensive.
Yeah, and they're only going to come down in price. So.
This blows my mind. I remember recently my iPhone was full, and I mean, I don't download any applications or not too many applications or anything on my phone. I primarily use it for like email, call, text, web browsing, the very standard stuff. And I put music on there, but like the capacity was like I only had 2 gigabytes left. I have a 16 gigabyte iPhone, and it just like blows my mind that 16 gigabytes on your phone is not enough these days.
Yeah,
I come from, and Todd, you and Sean, you can relate. We come from the generation where flip phones only had like 2 megabytes of memory or something. Yeah. 16 gigs is somehow not enough.
I know, it's weird. My iPhone doesn't have very much on it either.
Yeah, it's because applications they're so much bigger now because they have to load in all these files. They have their own specific pretty color font. They have to load that in. Everything's packed into this one thing, and it's like, here you go. I could be wrong. I think the Facebook app or Yelp or one of those main kind of service apps are like 200 megabytes or something.
Yeah, they're big.
Insane. That's insane. Jeez. What do you have an OS in there? Why is it so big?
We have no OS.
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree with that. 64 is a sweet spot. that's the point I was getting to.
Yeah, that's one thing. I have a 16 gig iPhone too. I wish I had gotten. I didn't want to wait, and that was the only one that was available when it launched. So I bought it, but I wish I bought the 64.
Okay, we have a question from Future Game Dev, and Q, this would be a good one for you. Okay. Is there any cheap upgrade from Windows Movie Maker?
I got no idea. When I was editing on a Windows machine, I was using Sony Vegas, and from what I remember, Sony Vegas is like around $100, versus friggin' Premiere Pro from friggin' Adobe that costs $2,000. Oh, that was a rough year for me when I bought the stupid thing. But yeah, Sony Vegas I think is around $100. They could have changed that now. I don't know. The Sony Vegas, if you're on Windows and Sony Vegas is still around, I haven't checked, then yeah, I would recommend that. Hope that helps.
Sounds like it makes sense to me. I don't do video editing except in iMovie once a year when I somehow get wrangled into doing an unboxing. Todd, what do you edit with when you're editing and back home?
I use the iMovie, like when I'm on the go or something, traveling. That's all I know how to use. And I used Vegas when I was on a Windows machine, which was okay.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but I only know how to do the basics, like clip, and then add the little transition.
That's all you really need to do. That's what editing is.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So
let's see.
Let's see here. We got another question from Future Game Dev. I don't know if we're only talking phones today, but what are your thoughts on the Windows 8.1 update? If it's only phones, Windows Phone 8.1. Oh, no, we're talking anything today. Todd, have you had a chance to play with Windows Phone 8.1 yet?
No. The developer preview is not out yet, so I'm hoping. Well, they said rumors said April 14th.
I am so excited.
The emails that went out from Microsoft last week were they said this week sometime, but I don't know. We'll see.
I am
can't
so
wait to try
excited.
it.
I'm
Are
so
you really
excited to jump in?
sarcastic?
Because you guys know what I'm going to be talking about. Friggin' IE 11 and IE 10. Okay, so give you some perspective on the developing world. So from what I understand, with Windows 8.1, Microsoft released something called WinJS, which is a JavaScript-based library to help those to develop Windows 8 applications. And apparently, Microsoft's own release of WinJS does not support IE 8 or 9. I don't know. And recently, with the new launch of the site, you guys know the whole, faster whatever thing, and there were a few IE-related bugs I had to work out with Todd. And oh my God, here's the thing. Okay. With Windows 8, they introduced the touchscreen stuff, but not in addition to the touchscreen, there's also a stylus. And with WebKit and Moz, which is the Mozilla technology, there's a standard thing for touch start, or click or touch start, right? Microsoft, because they're being so innovative, they created their own set of things. One for stylus, one for touch, and one for click. So now, if you want your site to support that, you have to add that into your library. Fine, that's what I did, right? But their extension was like MS pointer event or something like that. But for IE 11, they changed the names of those. So for whatever you wrote in IE 10, it's broken in IE 11. Friggin' Microsoft, man. And that's just like a small thing, and then there's all these incompatibility. Like, yeah, I'm done. Girl, it is hot in here.
Girl, it is hot.
Update to something I was saying earlier, and someone has corrected me. It's Argos. So thank you for the correction. That came on Twitter. Certain new Argos shops have the new tablet-style shops.
Yeah,
makes a lot more sense than the giant freaking catalogs I saw in there. I may be going back to the UK in November, so I'll see if I can find one of the tablet ones.
Next time you go there, they're shut down. They're gone. The reason because editor-in-chief from TechnoBuffalo said some nasty things, and now our business is gone. Thanks, Sean Honey.
And a correction from TechnoGeek, it was Google Buzz. I was correct.
I remembered. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, I see. Taking Q's side. New guy on the show, you're going to take. I see how you are. Yep.
Just because I'm hip, I'm cool, right?
No comment on that one.
You don't get it, man. You don't get it.
And Q, you'll enjoy this question from Sasha Bahal. Actually, it's not a question, it's a comment.
No. Take that question off. Take that question off.
Where?
Hey, Sean, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. Learning something new with Sean Ani. You guys have no clue how many times a day I trick Q into giving me the setup so I can just say, and knowing is half the battle.
It's the inside joke thing. I'm a Skype call with Sean, and then somehow I say, oh, you learn something new every day, because that's the kind of stuff I say for no reason. And then Sean's like, and knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe. Every time.
Probably 3 to 4 times a day I get him with
Every time. And then whenever that happens, like, no, and Skype call.
And according to TechnoGeek, John is hip and cool and full of swagger.
He feels me. He feels me, right? Yeah, swagger.
Q has the swag. It's true.
I got the swag. What can I say? I'm smooth, like a quality piece of maple. I don't know.
Okay. We'll be wrapping up shortly here, folks. From Future Game Dev, Todd, a question for you. So now that the price of the LG G Watch is out, are you hoping the Moto 360 will be cheaper? $300.
Rewind. What is a G Watch?
It's LG's Android Wear smartwatch.
They have one now?
Yeah, they announced it at the same time.
Really? Because when Android Wear came out, I remember this, Sean, and then you said Motorola had the 360, and I thought that was it. I didn't know LG made one too.
Yeah. Yep. Same
Ooh. Oh my.
So what price are you hoping for, Todd?
For the 360, I don't think that's going to come. I mean, I think the G Watch is supposed to be the cheaper of the two. I think the 360 is going to be more expensive. I don't know. I don't know how many people are going to be willing to spend more than $300 on it.
Well, and that was the whole problem. Well, that wasn't the whole problem with the Galaxy Air, but a lot of the problem was the price did scare people off.
How much was it?
What was the original list price, Todd? Was it $249?
For which?
The original Galaxy Gear.
$299, I think.
$299 was the
$200,
original,
yeah.
yeah.
How many days did it last on a single battery charge? Like 1.5 or something?
Tell those guys that we're trying to host a serious show here, and there needs to be no shenanigans.
No shenanigans.
I can only imagine what they're doing to you. I've been out there enough times.
It's not appropriate for people.
Yeah. Working at TechnoBuffalo is a constant adventure.
Oh, I just had a thought.
Oh, well, there's a first time for everything.
I know, right? So you know, in the new Galaxy S5, they have that kind of, when the battery gets to 10%, it goes into this emergency battery saver mode thing, where it can only do very basic tasks. Do smartwatches have that too?
Wow, they should.
They should, right? Because once the battery goes to a certain point, all the smartwatch should do is tell the time.
Exactly.
Right? It's like if you use your smartwatch for 2 days, you forgot to charge it. Look, I don't even know what time it is. What's the point of wearing this thing? It makes my body feel imbalanced. So now you can pull out your phone and that's just like...
Well, earlier, if anyone saw me fiddling, it was because my Pebble was going, hey, I'm down to 20%. So
right.
I threw it on the charger. Actually, that's a really good idea, Q.
Regular watch.
Yeah, that's why you gotta...
Regular watch.
They should call it, like, here, I'm like doing the work for them. They should call it sundial mode or something, where it's just a bare bones, bare basic...
I like that.
Thing that it's just black and white. It can use, you know, and it just tells the time, and that's all it does.
Or just like 18th century mode.
Yeah.
Q has just solved the smartwatch problem.
Oh yeah, I know. No problem, Samsung. No problem.
Okay, one final question. This one from Sachin Bahal. Todd, you would be able to answer this. If the Galaxy S5 is IP7 water resistant, how come the headphone jack doesn't have a cover, but the micro USB port does have one? Since you played with a Galaxy S5 yesterday, can you answer that?
That's a good question. I don't have an answer. I think, and we've seen it before on like the Galaxy S4 Active. I don't think had a cover. I could be wrong, but I don't think it had a cover on the headphone jack either. And you've seen it on some of the Sony headsets. So my guess is that those are more water resistant. Versus, I think you're probably leading right into the internals with the USB, so to be safe. That's my guess. For safety. But you also see, like, even with the Galaxy S4 Active, there were problems with the headphone jack getting water in it. It would, like, throw errors and stuff. That's why that was a problem. So we have the Galaxy S5 here, yes. We play with it. I think it's pretty cool. We're going to use it a lot more before we bring a review. And I haven't put it underwater yet.
And this is my non-mechanical engineer kind of thought. Isn't it more practical to make something like not drop resistant but stronger versus water resistant? Because I would imagine the amount of people having screens is higher than people having water damaged phones.
Yeah.
Because I mean I know Gorilla Glass and all that kind of stuff is stronger and all that kind of stuff, but they still shatter when you drop them, right? I mean, enough times.
Well, and if they land in just the right way.
I think water
is
fairly easy these days, though, with the nano coatings they're spraying on them.
Is it that magical spray thing? I don't know if it's the same thing, but there was this magical water-resistant paint spray that you can spray on anything, and then like you can spray on the clothes, and there was that demo where the guy like shot chocolate fudge or something, and it dropped off, and oh yeah, that was cool.
I think it is the same technology.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I would do that to like
across the components.
Well, folks, we have reached the end of another TechnoBuffalo show. Do either of you have any final thoughts for today?
No, just more gadgets to play with.
And again, we'd like to thank our friends at Kellogg's. They are great, and don't forget to check out Post Honeycomb cereal. They are very good as well.
For anyone who's listening, no, we are not actually sponsored by either cereal.
We're gonna get like a lifetime supply accidentally, Q.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
To get a cereal sponsorship so they can just send us big cases full of cereal?
Yeah, man.
I would like to request that Blueberry sponsors us.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh,
I think we had a discussion about this. Like, when did Blueberry come about?
70s.
Okay. Because I know that, as a Canadian, we don't have the same cereals as you guys do. Like, we've been restricted, but Oh, wait, can you guys still buy Trix?
Yeah.
I think so.
We can't. I remember I looked this up before, and there was like, an Amazon vendor who was a proxy, so they'd get it from the States and sell it to Canadians, but like a box of tricks or 3 boxes of tricks or something was like $20-something.
That's
It
awesome.
was insane. This is the kind of stuff we have to deal with.
I'm gonna start
Well-
smuggling it up there.
Yeah.
Great. Now as we set up our trick smuggling ring,
Yeah.
well, we want to thank you for joining us for another episode of the TechnoBuffalo Show. I've been Sean Ani. I'm the editor-in-chief of TechnoBuffalo. I've been joined by Todd Hazelton, the executive editor of Mobile,
Bye, everyone.
and John Quach, our head of all things graphic.
Yes.
As always, you can find us on iTunes. You can subscribe via RSS feed. You can find us on Pocket Casts, or you can find us on the Stitcher app. Until next week at the same time, same channel, we'll see you all then. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.